The moment you step into this factory, you realize right away that this is not some ordinary garment workshop with a few noisy fans, stacks of fabric waiting around, and people hoping everything somehow works out. Not at all. This is a high-end textile ecosystem, and everything here begins not with fabric, not with needles, and not even with design sketches. It begins with camels, and not the kind of camels arriving in a dusty desert scene like an old adventure movie. These VIP suppliers arrive in carefully designed transport trucks with clean interiors, controlled ventilation, and a level of order that honestly looks better than many city commutes. As the trucks stop at the receiving zone, automated gates open slowly and smoothly. Nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels chaotic. The whole setup runs with such calm precision that it looks more like a premium care center than the front end of a textile factory. The camels are guided into the initial care area through dedicated walkways fitted with soft dividers, anti-slip flooring, and sensors tracking every movement. It feels like each camel has an invisible support team working behind the scenes. Then comes the first cleaning stage. Automated spray systems activate from multiple angles, releasing water at carefully controlled pressure to remove dust and surface debris while preserving the natural condition of the wool. On camera, this looks fantastic. A light mist in the air, industrial lighting reflecting off soft golden brown fibers, everything feeling sleek, modern, and strangely luxurious. And that is not the end of it. After that comes health screening with thermal imaging technology. High-resolution thermal cameras scan temperature patterns across the body in real time, while large digital displays show the readings live. Here, the camels are not just observed. They are analyzed. Electronic measurement systems record body weight, physical stability, and movement condition. All of that data is sent directly to the factory's central control system for rapid assessment. Only the animals that meet the ideal conditions move forward into the fiber collection stage. At this point, it becomes obvious that this factory is doing much more than gathering raw material. It is selecting raw material the way a luxury brand selects fabric for a flagship collection. And then comes the stage that is impossible to ignore: robotic wool harvesting. Multi-jointed robotic arms move with such smooth control that they almost look like they are performing rather than working. Each one is equipped with advanced contour mapping sensors and real-time body surface tracking. In simple terms, these machines do not just sweep across the coat and hope for the best. They follow the body section by section with remarkable precision, selecting the best fiber evenly, gently, and consistently for high-end textile use. This part is fascinating to watch. On one side, a camel stands there with impressive calm, as if this has somehow become a perfectly normal appointment in its schedule. On the other side, robotic arms glide around it with a level of care that borders on obsessive. Nothing feels rough. Nothing feels clumsy. Everything is measured, soft, and accurate. Valuable camel wool is collected in a steady flow and directed into receiving trays below, where the first classification systems immediately begin their work. Optical sensors analyze fiber length, thickness, color tone, and uniformity. The finest wool is sent directly toward the premium material stream. The rest is sorted into other product grades. Nothing is dumped into one giant pile and left to fate. Every gram is scanned, measured, categorized, and routed with intention. And right from the very first phase, this factory makes one thing perfectly clear: luxury does not begin with a label. It begins with discipline so precise it almost feels theatrical. By the time this opening stage ends, what once sat quietly on the back of a camel has officially entered a new life. One that will lead it straight into one of the most advanced textile production systems imaginable. Once the wool leaves the harvesting zone, it moves directly into the pre-processing area. And this is where everything starts changing dramatically. In the previous stage, the material still looked natural, dusty, fluffy, and very much like it had just arrived from the outdoors. From this point on, however, the factory begins transforming it into a true luxury textile material. The first stop is the large-scale industrial washing system. Raw camel wool enters specialized washing machines through enclosed conveyor systems. This is not a simple rinse and spin situation. Water temperature, agitation speed, flow pressure, and the exact composition of the cleaning solution are all tightly controlled by computer systems. The goal is to remove dust, fine impurities, and excess natural oils while preserving the softness, resilience, and identity of the fiber. In other words, this is basically a premium spa treatment for wool. After washing, the fiber moves through a sequence of large rinse basins, where clean water continuously flows through the material to remove everything that no longer belongs. Visually, this stage is beautiful. Layers of warm brown fiber drifting in smooth motion, polished stainless steel machinery, soft vapor rising into the air, and the whole environment looking incredibly clean and expensive. It has that unmistakable feeling of a factory that is not improvising anything. From the rinsing area, the material enters the industrial hot air drying system. This is one of those stages that looks simple until you realize how delicate it actually is. If the heat is too aggressive, the fibers can lose their elasticity. If too much moisture remains, later stages become unstable. So inside these drying chambers, powerful airflow is distributed evenly, while an entire network of sensors continuously monitors temperature and humidity. The data appears on digital control panels that look like they belong on a spaceship, except instead of preparing for launch, the system is preparing camel wool for luxury garments. By the time the material exits the drying system, it already looks lighter, cleaner, and far more uniform. But it is still not ready for spinning. That is why the next step is opening and rough carding. The clean wool is carried by conveyor into a series of large carding machines fitted with specialized roller surfaces. Fibers that were still clumped, tangled, or pointing in the wrong direction begin to separate, stretch, and align. This is the stage where the material stops being a soft, chaotic mass and starts behaving like a structured textile input. And this part is incredibly satisfying to watch. The wool enters the machine looking like a fluffy cloud with no real plan in life, then comes out the other side as soft, even, airy ribbons with clear directional flow. It is like watching a disorganized pile of softness get sent through a highly disciplined finishing school. Optical sensors continue scanning the surface of the wool ribbons for uneven sections. Areas that do not meet the standard are routed back through the carding system for another pass. This factory clearly has no interest in the phrase, good enough. When those first long, smooth layers of prepared fiber begin moving steadily down the line, viewers can feel a major shift happening. The raw material has become something entirely different, clean, dry, aligned, soft, and full of possibility. This is the point where the future coat, scarf, or premium fabric begins to reveal itself. And what makes it even more impressive is that behind all this softness lies a very strict industrial backbone. Automated motors, climate control systems, digital regulators, material cameras, and highly controlled flow management. In other words, behind the gentle beauty of this stage is a production system with absolutely no patience for randomness. By the end of this section, camel wool is no longer raw input. It has been washed, dried, opened, and carded into a refined textile material ready for one of the most important transitions of the entire journey, spinning. And once it becomes yarn, it officially enters the world of modern fabric production. This is the stage where the factory stops merely processing material and starts giving it a true textile identity. The prepared wool ribbons now enter the spinning department, where large machines operate with a level of precision that leaves almost no room for deviation. First, the soft ribbons pass through a series of stretching systems. Each set of rollers gently draws the material longer, thinner, and more even. It sounds simple, but doing this without damaging the natural structure of the fiber requires a delicate balance of force, timing, and stability. This is not a harder is better kind of process. It is a just enough, exactly right kind of process. If we wanted to joke about it, this is basically the part where the fibers are given strict professional training before starting their career. Once the material reaches the required fineness, it moves into the spinning frames. Here, a carefully controlled twisting action binds the fibers together into a complete yarn with strength, consistency, and reliable structure. Cone after cone of yarn begins to form on the winding units, gradually filling with beautiful regularity. This is one of the most satisfying visual moments in the factory. Something that once existed as loose, drifting fiber now appears as clean, compact, perfectly organized yarn in a rich camel brown shade that already looks elegant. But this factory does not stop at making yarn. Every spool must prove that it is stable enough for high-speed weaving. So sensors measure thickness, twist level, tensile strength, and surface consistency. Any spool that does not meet the standard is separated immediately. The ones that pass continue straight into the weaving line. Here, yarn is not allowed to look nice and then panic under industrial pressure. And then we arrive at one of the most mesmerizing spaces in the entire factory, the weaving hall. Rows of automated looms run side by side, creating a constant mechanical rhythm that somehow feels both intense and hypnotic. Yarn cones are mounted on precision feed systems. Thousands of warp threads are tensioned into place. Weft threads begin moving across them at high speed, interlocking over and over again to build fabric in real time. This stage has tremendous visual power. You are not just watching a machine run. You are watching a surface appear. Meter by meter, a premium textile emerges in front of your eyes. If spinning was the moment the material gained a backbone, weaving is the moment it gains skin. Depending on the intended product, the system can create different structures. Some weaving programs produce lighter, smoother textiles suited for scarves or elegant soft layers. Others build denser, tighter constructions for coats, jackets, and structured outerwear. All of that depends on machine settings, thread density, tension, insertion speed, humidity control, and the consistency of the yarn itself. AI plays a major role here too. Optical cameras monitor the moving fabric surface in real time. If a thread shifts, if the surface loses balance, if any small irregularity appears, the system flags it immediately. But even in this extremely automated space, humans remain essential. Textile technicians walk the aisles, checking texture, drape, grain, and feel. The machine can identify deviation. The expert can sense character. And in luxury textiles, character matters. By the end of the weaving stage, large rolls of finished fabric are wound onto industrial cylinders. What started as raw natural fiber has now become a premium material with surface, body, color, and identity. This is one of the biggest turning points in the whole production journey, because from here on, the process is no longer about making material. It becomes about making products. The fabric is about to be cut, shaped, and assembled into real garments. And that is exactly where the factory proves why even the most advanced technology still needs truly skilled hands. After all the giant machines and dramatic material transformations, we finally arrive at the stage that feels the most personal, the moment when fabric starts becoming something people can actually wear. But do not assume this area is any less advanced. If anything, this is where technology and craftsmanship stand side by side most clearly. The finished fabric rolls are transferred into the pattern cutting department under tightly organized conditions. Layer after layer of fabric is spread flat across long cutting tables that are so clean and orderly, they practically make you want to stand up straighter just by looking at them. Above the tables, digital projection systems display pattern layouts, while nearby computers calculate the most efficient cutting arrangement. Not a single centimeter is wasted carelessly. Every shape is positioned to preserve grain direction, optimize material use, and maintain the correct structure of the future garment. For product lines that require maximum precision and speed, laser cutting systems take over. Cutting heads move swiftly across the fabric surface, creating clean and accurate lines. Front panels, sleeves, collars, pocket flaps, lapels, piece after piece appears as if the design file has stepped directly out of the screen and onto the table. But for certain premium pieces, especially where the feel and behavior of the cloth matter more than pure speed, experienced cutters still use large hand shears. This contrast is wonderful. On one side, digital precision. On the other, expert human judgment. Two completely different methods, one shared goal. Once the pieces are cut, they enter the sewing department, and this is where the garment truly begins to take shape. The cut sections are sorted by style and production batch, then moved into specialized sewing lines. Here, skilled operators and high-speed industrial machines work together with remarkable coordination. One station joins front and back panels. Another shapes the shoulders. Another sets the sleeves. Another finishes the collar. Linings are attached. Edges are secured. Closures are added. Buttons are placed. Zippers are installed. Every station contributes one part of the garment's identity. What makes this section so satisfying is the pace. It moves quickly, but never feels messy. Each workstation behaves like one link in a much larger chain. Fabric enters as separate components, then gradually gains structure, function, and visual presence. At first, it is just a few flat pieces. Then it gains shoulders, then sleeves, then a collar, then lining. And suddenly, without even realizing exactly when it happened, there is a complete coat lying on the finishing table. If weaving created the thrill of seeing fabric appear, sewing creates a different kind of pleasure, the pleasure of watching an object become real. It is no longer material. It is a product with shape, form, and personality. After assembly, the garments move into the surface finishing zone. Industrial steam stations, pressing tables, and form-shaping units refine the final look. Steam is used to relax technical folds, smooth the surface, settle the seams, and sharpen the silhouette. This is the point where a garment stops looking assembled and starts looking expensive. A slightly sharper lapel line, a smoother front panel, a cleaner drape. Small adjustments make a huge difference. Final details such as labels, decorative buttons, internal reinforcements, and finishing stitches are added with steady hands and careful attention. The people working here have a kind of calm focus that says everything, because they know exactly what the luxury market demands. The higher the product category, the more obvious small flaws become. By the end of this stage, the coat is nearly ready. It has structure, drape, closure, finish, and presence. It already looks premium. It already looks complete. But in a factory like this, almost ready means absolutely nothing, because no garment leaves the line until it faces one final test. And that is where AI, microscopes, and some extremely serious quality inspectors step into the picture. If the earlier stages were about creating the garment, this final stage is about proving it deserves to exist in the global luxury market. And this is also where the factory delivers its strongest premium industrial energy, because the level of scrutiny here leaves almost no space for assumption. Finished coats enter the QA and QC department in a perfectly organized flow. Lighting in this area is bright, even, and color neutral so that no detail on the fabric surface can hide. Each coat is placed on inspection racks and moved through multiple review stations. First comes expert manual inspection. Specialists examine every seam, every edge, every connection point, every button spacing, every sleeve line, and every lapel angle. Even the slightest imbalance gets noticed. There is no, "the customer probably will not see it" attitude here. This factory clearly refuses to build its reputation on customer distraction. After manual inspection comes technological reinforcement. Electronic microscopes and digital screens are used to examine fiber structure in critical areas, checking for weak points, weaving inconsistencies, loose yarn behavior, or any microscopic issue that could affect the final product. Visually, this is fantastic for documentary storytelling. A beautiful luxury coat lying on a table, while next to it a magnified fiber structure glows on a high-resolution monitor like a map of an invisible universe. It feels expensive, precise, and unmistakably modern. AI camera systems also play a major role in this stage. They scan the garment surface and compare the real product against ideal reference models for proportion, symmetry, surface smoothness, and construction accuracy. If the system detects a deviation, the piece is routed toward correction or separated for further review. So it is not just the human team being demanding here. The machines are equally strict. Only after passing all of these inspections does a garment move into packaging. And even that process is handled with remarkable seriousness. This is not a casual fold it and box it operation. Robotic arms work together with staff members to fold the coat according to exact standards, protecting the silhouette and preventing distortion or wrinkling. Premium tissue paper is placed inside elegant cartons to support both protection and presentation. Because even the first second of unboxing is part of the product experience. Each box is then labeled with barcodes, shipment information, and batch data, all connected directly to the central logistics system. This part feels intensely industrial in the best possible way. Monitors showing live shipment codes, conveyors carrying cartons in perfect rhythm, robotic stackers placing them onto wooden pallets with near-perfect repeatability. The whole thing runs so smoothly it feels like this factory simply does not believe in last-minute disorder. Automated forklifts appear next, transporting the palletized goods into the logistics zone. From there, the packaged garments are prepared for controlled environment containers, ready for shipment to luxury retail destinations across the world. What began as natural camel fiber has now entered the global distribution network as a finished premium garment. That is a remarkable transformation. And in this final stage, the entire philosophy of the factory becomes crystal clear. This is not just a place that makes clothes. It is a place that combines intelligent animal care, robotic fiber collection, advanced washing and drying systems, fiber opening and spinning technology, large-scale weaving, laser cutting, expert sewing, AI-supported inspection, and automated global logistics into one continuous and beautifully disciplined chain. What makes this process so compelling is not only how advanced the machines are, it is how well every part works together. From the camel care zone to robotic harvesting, from industrial cleaning and drying to carding and spinning, from the weaving hall to cutting, sewing, inspection, and packaging, every stage serves one purpose: to turn a natural material into a luxury fashion product in the most modern way possible. And when you finally see the finished coat resting neatly inside its box, clean, elegant, structured, and ready to leave the factory, you understand something very interesting. The softness of luxury fashion is built by an extremely strict system.